The Intergenerational programme at DCU is an initiative designed to help senior citizens of Dublin reconnect with and record their memories of the past, to help create a bridge to span the generations.
Well, you see, my son gave me a book a few years ago, and it was From Me to You with Love. And the pages were all headed, you know, how did you grow up, where did you grow up, who was your best friend and that. And when I sat down to write into this book, I thought, I can't answer these questions. I didn't have a best friend, never had a holiday. So what's the point in writing on these things, you know? And then I heard about the Intergenerational program down in DCU, and I thought, oh, maybe that's for me.
We spoke with two dedicated members of this course to help get a better idea of how life writing has helped them to reconnect with their past.
It does help because places like this trigger memories. When I walked down Dominic Street half an hour ago, I was reminded of playing in the lobby or the foyer. We didn't call it the foyer, of course, we called it the hall. It was as simple as that, you know. Everyone had a hall and we moved in and out. But that reminded me of that. It reminded me of some kids hiding their shoes behind the door because they wanted to go barefoot, because a lot of the other kids around the street were barefoot as well. I was never barefoot because I was an only child. I was considered well off.
It's always important for them really to share their memories. I think that one of the big hurdles that I found, whether it's in the writing or in the previous photography project, is that very often our older participants came and thought, nobody's going to be interested. You know, it's only my boring life. Nobody's interested. And I think to realise that people are interested in their memories, are interested in their stories, is really a really important moment for them.
Some memories you take joy out of, and some memories are very sad. You know, with the Intergenerational program, it brings everything to life. Things that you've forgotten about, that you think you've forgotten about, but they're still in the back of your head, you know. And as I say, people call them tenement houses, but they were our homes.
A good few people actually come from the same background, from the tenements, the city centre, and as I understand, they were then moved to make place for sort of a gentrification of the city. And in all cases, the memory of the tenement is actually a very nice, soft memory, whereas the image we would have of tenements would be more of poverty and something really quite dark. But the memories that my students seem to have are of community and warmth, really.
Well, personally, I loved it. You know, when we moved from Mountjoy Square to O'Devney Gardens, I didn't want to stay in O'Devney Gardens. You know, I was so happy here.
It was quite a close community in the house itself, in a little village in its own right, you might say. There were 7 families there, and most of them were big families, with the exception of the one family up on the very top, who were a newly married couple, had no children at that stage. I'd never got to know them because they had no children, but I used to play with all the other children.
You know, so it's very hard for the children to understand. We've brought their standards up so much that it's very hard for them to change, you know. And now as an old age pensioner, you know, what I grew up with as a child stands to me now.
And nobody's life is easy. You know, you don't get to be 70 or 80 to say that life is easy. Life is not easy. And what they recognise is that really life for them and for their children is certainly easier now than it was when they were young.
Dominic Street, when I moved out, was deteriorating rapidly. We had electricity was installed only 2 to 3 years before we moved out, and it was a great thing. We had one single light in the middle of the room, and we didn't look for radio. No television then, of course. We didn't look for radio. We had a radio. It was worked on sulfuric acid baths. the electricity was generated from that, which had to be filled from time to time. I was sent with the little jars of acid down to the corner shop to get them filled. Quite a hazardous thing now, you know.
As a parent, you do all you can for your children to make their life better, and they wouldn't have a clue what you actually went through. And I suppose we wanted to keep it like that.
And home in particular are very privileged memories. You remember where you feel safe. You remember, that's what Bachelard says, the French philosopher, is you remember where you can daydream. You remember where you're safe. So this home place is a privileged site for memory.